Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate Friday Facts with Kennedy and Ellen.
Hello.
We are here today with some really exciting guests, two who we have not talked to yet. So excited to meet you both. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Catherine. I am a first-time surrogate. I'm really excited to be here and nervous.
Oh, don't be
Yeah.
nervous. Everybody
Yeah.
says they're nervous, and by the end of it, we're all best friends.
Yeah, I'm Caitlin. I completed my first journey back in October, and I am aiming for reapplying for a second journey in May.
Ooh,
Yay!
nice.
How exciting! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I've completed 4 journeys, but only had 3 babies. I am now retired and just gave birth January 3rd to my last one.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's new.
Congratulations.
You go, girl.
Because the last
Wow.
time we talked to you, you were pregnant.
I was, yeah. I think I was
Wow.
like 24 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you make it full
Oh
term?
man.
I was induced at 38 weeks.
Okay.
But so yeah, full term.
Yeah.
Full term. Full term. We'll consider it.
Wow.
Okay. Well, today we are going to talk about the myths in surrogacy. So, anybody want to go first?
Oh, where
Okay.
to begin?
I know.
I feel like that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
I know.
The baby's yours. That's the big one.
Oh, well,
how can
yeah.
you give away a baby? How can you give away a baby?
Mm-hmm.
Big myth.
And what is the response to that?
It's not my baby. It's not our baby. And if they want to engage in further, I mean, this was a long time ago that we did it, but if they would want to engage in it further, I'd go on further. And I'd just say, this is how it works.
Mhm.
It's not genetically related to us at all.
Mhm.
And sometimes it would satisfy them, and sometimes they would be like deer in headlights, and you would just go, okay, have a nice day, and you have to move on. You can't do this all day long to people who are curious. If they really are genuinely interested, sure, I spent the time. I did.
Sure. That's fair.
Mhm.
Do you guys do you guys give the same response when people are like, how can you give up it's always like, how can you give up a baby? And the best one I've heard is, I'm not giving it up, I'm giving it back. And I'm like, ooh,
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah. Once I
Yeah.
break it down for people and I explain, like, I mean, going into surrogacy, you're like, I'm having somebody else's baby. And then you kind of continue it along. And I mean, there's so many pokes and prods and
Right.
time and constant reminders, like, this isn't my baby. I mean, I knew it from the get-go, but you're always desensitized pretty much from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And once I put it in those kinds of terms, people are like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I definitely try to explain, like, I go into it with the mentality that it's not my child and explaining like the process and kind of like Ellen, if it's worth the conversation, I will have the conversation.
Right.
But sometimes certain people will just want to argue, and at that point it's not worth your time. They're not there to listen, they're there to just
Judge.
argue
Mhm.
their point and judge, and
Yep.
I move on.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't know if we've all done it, but I've said, like, especially when I had you, like Kennedy, you were littles, oh, you're getting a baby brother, sister. And if it was just like, I can't do this anymore, we'd go, yeah, we're doing 5 weeks or whatever. And just because sometimes it's just too much. You don't want to be disrespectful to people, but then again, you're trying to live your life. You're at the grocery store. Okay, thank you. I love you too, but don't bug me. Especially carrying those triplets. Like, I was huge and people found out about it, and my kids used it as shock value, you being one of them, Kennedy. Oh, we're having it's triplets and they're not ours. And it's like, oh no, now we have to have a conversation. So yeah.
So fun.
Yeah, wasn't it? Okay.
Oh, it's so fun. I think that's half the fun.
Definitely the shock value. I've had my situations at the OB, my first OB appointment, and this girl was super excited, and you could tell it was her first pregnancy. And so she's asking everybody, like, oh, are you excited to be a mom? Like, how many babies have you had? And she's like, congratulations on your baby. And I'm like, thanks, it's not mine. And then everybody just like, are you okay? Like,
Oh.
I forgot that I probably should elaborate a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I do love the shock values. It does become fun.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Yes, it can be fun.
Postpartum, trying to explain and be like, oh, like explaining all your toddler stuff or however old your child is at the time. And then
Mhm.
being like, oh yeah, I just gave birth like 5 months ago. And they're like, but where's that baby? And you're like, oh, fun fact,
Right.
it's not mine. And they are so confused.
Yeah.
It is fun. I used to go into a donut shop all the time because my child is like obsessed with donuts. And I never explained to them that I was a surrogate. And like one day I walked in and concerning looks of like, there's no baby. Like we would keep coming back and there was never a baby. And like it was just kind of, it's just the fun. I don't know. I find it fun. Maybe I'm twisted in that sense, but it's entertaining.
No, it's fun. It's fun.
It is. It is.
It is. But I wanted to touch back because Mom, you brought up something that when I asked everybody today, like what is the myth that annoys you the most? And I would say 95% of people that submitted their answer was the baby is related to you, your shared DNA, the baby looks like you, like all of that. And so clearly that is something that everybody gets. And
Yeah.
that boggles my
Right.
mind.
I think just is a lack of education. I don't think it's they're being ignorant. I just think it's a lack of education, especially people of a certain age and older. It's just like all of you guys are fairly young, but like my age, I'm not saying I'm old, but okay. It's hard to explain that. They just don't get the science behind it.
Mhm.
And I used to pick my battles. I still pick them. I still pick
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I'm not going to engage if it's going to be a judgmental type of issue. But yeah, it's a big one. How can you give it up?
Does anybody want to relate on why the baby's not related to us?
They're not related to us because of how they're created. They don't use any sort of genetic material from us. Our eggs, our partner's sperm, nothing is related to us. Those embryos are created most likely before you even apply to be a surrogate. And then there's embryo transfer, and I don't know how much I can say about how
You
that
can say
whole
it
thing is
all.
performed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, the baby is not ours, and I have ultrasounds to prove it. My ultrasound shows this baby is Asian. I am not Asian. It's super cute. I'll have to share
You
a
can
photo
see
with
that
you guys.
in the ultrasound
Yeah.
pictures? Really?
We
Oh,
had a 3D ultrasound when my intended mother was here 2 weeks ago, and I surprised her, and we saw the baby. And the first thing she said when she saw him in 3D was, "Oh, he looks Asian." We all laughed, and we're like,
Oh.
"Yeah, I wonder why."
sweet.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's so sweet.
But that's something I've been using. I'm like, does this baby look like it's mine or my
Right.
husband's? So that's kind of fun too.
That is fun.
Another thing. So backtracking on that, right? A lot of uneducated people as well also think that we create these with the intended father.
Oh my
Which-
gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Anybody
we
have
do
any
have
opinions
to-
on that?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I've been pumping recently and I donated my milk to a local gal who came over. And the reason her story stuck out to me so much was she said that she was a surrogate. And so I'm like, of course, I'm sorry, her baby was born via surrogacy. And so I was like, okay, yes, absolutely. Like, please let me give this to you. That's a soft spot in my heart. And so I asked her a little bit about it. And I think what's important when we talk to people is educating them between traditional surrogacy and gestational carrier, because it was in fact that her sister did both for her. They did kind of like an at-home insemination process.
Ah.
But I mean, there still was nothing intimate between her
Right.
and the intended father. But I thought that was special, especially coming on this podcast. I was like, okay, there's a big difference
Yes.
and knowing the difference. So I think it's important
There
to
is.
speak to that too.
And wow, are you foreshadowing? Because this airs Friday, so hello Friday. But on Sunday, we have an intended mother whose story is going live. Beth, Mom, remember?
Yep.
The intended mother, and they're in the middle of a traditional surrogacy. Her baby's due,
Yep.
I think
Oh, that's
May.
great.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so that's why I'm not shocked when you said like in home, because she talks about that and how it was done, and it's wild. Not to promote our own podcast, but promoting our own podcast for Sunday, like.
Yeah.
I had a
This is
coworker,
traditional.
her and her wife did the same thing. They did like an at-home insemination. So it wasn't really like shocked. Like it wasn't really shocking to me. I had heard about it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once I break down to people the difference between
Yes.
traditional and gestational, they're
Very
like,
big difference.
okay, that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
all a lot of people know is traditional.
And I think that that's where a lot of their the misinformation, the uneducated responses come from. Because in that sense, yes, the baby shares your DNA when it's traditional, but
Mhm.
like the majority of surrogacy this day and age is not traditional, so it doesn't
Right.
stick.
Back when I did it, there were a lot.
Yeah.
It got sticky. Mhm.
And sometimes it's not all about genetics either. It's just really about like family. Because my intended mom, she used donor egg, donor sperm, and it's not the genetics that make them a family.
It's not.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah,
Because adoption.
exactly.
Adoption. I was adopted. Yep.
Mhm.
Got the best family. Yep.
Jennifer, I feel bad. You have any thoughts?
Come on in,
Well,
Jennifer.
with my first couple, they were both male, so I highly doubt they would want to partake
Right. How funny.
in a physical
Yeah.
way of
Funny.
Oh,
baby.
that's funny.
So that's definitely
Not.
not happening.
Yeah.
And I can't see many IMs wanting to
No.
share their husband.
Yeah.
No, it's just
Like, it's just a weird question.
Uh-huh.
Definitely,
It's appropriate.
mm,
it would be definitely weird if we had to have like our partner, our partners are involved. If you have a partner,
mhm.
they're involved in a lot of surrogacy. And I don't think a lot of partners would have stuck around
There'd
if
be a lot less surrogates.
there would be
Yeah.
a lot less surrogates for sure.
Yeah. So weird.
Infidelity up the wazoo on all sides. Like,
Yeah.
no.
I don't know.
Speaking of adoption though, I love how all these are connecting. Speaking of adoption though, so another thing, well, I don't know if it's necessarily a myth, I guess, but like how, well, kind of like adoption is cheaper, go the adoption route. But when you break down the costs, I actually don't think that adoption's cheaper.
Not from what I've heard.
And in
Yeah,
some
me
states,
neither.
you're required to foster before you adopt.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I think it's a lot because they're like, people say stuff about adoption, like just go help another child, or it's easier to adopt and all these things. And I think that that's a false. I think that's a false
Oh.
statement.
Oh, so are you
Mhm.
saying there's a lot of children in the world that need loving homes, and why are you going this route, or no?
It's part of that, but with
Okay.
but tacking on like, well, why would you spend this much money on surrogacy when you could just like go adopt a child? Well, adoption isn't free. Like, yeah, and I think that that's where like a lot of people don't understand.
And it's
It's
apples
also
and
not
oranges.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
They're two different
It's also
things.
not- yeah,
They are.
they're two different things. It's also not guaranteed.
Mhm.
Right.
Um,
A lot of heartache.
and
Ugh.
sometimes even like for instance, same-sex couples have a much harder time
Yes.
Yep.
adopting because unfortunately it's almost commercialized
Yep.
adoption.
That's sad.
And people don't talk about that because they're just trying to go into the guise of we're helping all these children, but
Mhm.
the people behind that are profiting from
Right.
adoption.
Yep.
And we don't talk about that. So it's not as easy as a lot of people think. And I have also argued on this front because I've had the comments, why doesn't your IM just adopt? And I'm like, because adoption isn't always a solution
Right.
to infertility or not being able to carry your own child. It's not always the solution. While it's beautiful and it's great, it's not guaranteed. It is incredibly expensive.
Mhm.
And, there's a lot behind it that we don't actually talk about or know about.
That's true.
Yeah.
And there's a
not
period
saying
that they can change their mind in the hospital. If you would like
Oh, yeah.
adopt, not just somebody
Exactly.
who's been in the system, but adopting from the hospital, like, they can change their mind.
And they do.
they have like a
do.
long time to change their mind.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes
They
it's up
do,
to
yes.
6
It's a
months.
really long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
depends
I
on
was
state.
actually in the process when I was younger. I was separated from my biological mother, and I was in the process of adoption because my family didn't want to come and take me in, and they got to change their mind. And then I did get, taken in by my own family, but I was in that process where I was almost adopted. Same thing with my younger siblings. They were almost adopted.
Wow.
And it's not guaranteed. The parents wanted to meet my younger siblings, especially because they were younger and they were excited, of course.
Yeah.
But when my family changed their mind and took us in, that absolutely shattered them.
For sure.
So
Absolutely.
it's
Ooh,
it's a lot.
that's a hard one.
Yeah, adoption's not the easy route, and it's not saying that
Oh.
surrogacy isn't expensive because we all know that yes, there's a lot of money involved with that too, but I think
Yeah.
I think they're money-wise, I think they're both almost pretty similar. Depending on the state especially.
Yeah.
So,
I see
there's
both
adoption.
sides.
Yeah.
Both sides of surrogacy. I work for my agency, and so I get to see a lot of the IP side that
Mm.
not a lot of other surrogates get to see. And
Right.
I've also had friends who've adopted, and I've seen their bills. And comparing the two, it's incredibly close, and it's
Wow.
kind of a shame,
Yeah.
especially because there are so many kids in the foster care system and
Mhm.
out there that do need loving homes and loving parents. And oof, I could go into this all
Right.
day.
Yeah, no, but it's sad. Speaking of children, just kidding. This is just kind of I'm gonna like start
Yeah.
transitioning things. Speaking of, one that's starting to become really common and irritates. But I'm gonna speak for you, Mom. Irritates the both of us for sure.
Mhm.
Is the fact that surrogacy affects a surrogate's child
Negatively.
negatively.
Mhm.
Nope.
Nope.
I am not affected negatively. So I can speak as a grown human being. But like, I don't know. Do you guys, obviously you all have children, so are your children affected negatively? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't feel like I can speak too much on this yet,
Okay.
just because I haven't completed my journey. I'm only
Sure.
halfway through.
Okay.
But so far up to this point, I've talked to my kids, and they're younger. My oldest is autistic, so their understanding is a little bit different than most children. But we talk about the baby, we talk about surrogacy, they've met the intended mother, and I just reiterate, like, this is not our baby,
Mhm.
mommy's growing it, but this is his mom, and they get excited about it. I don't
Aw.
know how it'll affect them at the end, but I don't believe it'll be negative. I
Yeah.
think at the end of it, they're gonna see, what mom did, and of course, we're gonna continue to talk about it. But I think that there's a difference too. Like, there's a lot of people that don't want to talk about the surrogacy, and I think that's what
Mm.
negatively impacts their children, is because they don't
Don't.
talk about it.
Yeah.
My son was 2 when I started the process, and then he had turned 4 a couple months after. But we talk about it all the time. I never got around to getting any of the books, but it was really easy to say, like, I let him fill in the blanks. Like, this is whose baby is this, and she's going home with, and then he would kind of fill it in.
Right.
No, he was at the end of everything. He was just happy. He's an only child, so he was just happy that he got to have mom back. He got to, have all of his stuff at the end of the day. It was just kind of another day for him. And I've listened to, I think my agency has a podcast out, and they interviewed a bunch of the kids, and I mean, their kids are ranging from like 4 to their later teens. And when I talked to the later teens about remembering, they're like, it was pretty normal for them.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely not negatively impacted at all.
Good. Jennifer, what about you?
Yeah, no, not at all. My first journey, my kids were 2, 4, and 6, and they're now 9, 11, and 14.
Okay.
And before I came on the podcast, before I asked my son, then 13, and he's like, no, he's like, why the heck would that happen? He's like, no, it's not negative. He's like,
Aw.
that's dumb. He's like, people that say they're dumb, they don't understand.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that is true.
Yeah.
And even like my 9-year-old, he was so excited. Like,
Aw.
when my IPs came, he's like, when are they coming? Are they gonna come visit? And he's like, where's the baby? Can we go see the baby? Like, he was excited because I got to stay for like 10 days after, I believe. So he wanted to see her like every day, and he was just really excited. And definitely not affected negatively. Like, they were around, they've seen the IPs lots because my last 2 journeys, they're siblings that I did. So they've been around them lots. And we used to live like within an hour of each other. We used to go visit all the time, and he'd play with their older son that I didn't carry, but had tons of fun, and they're not negatively affected at all.
Yeah.
They
Good.
think it's great. They think it's normal because,
Yeah.
again, they were so young when I started.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't seem weird to them at all.
Good.
And
And
I
mom, I've never asked you, mom, because like there's me who's like
Yeah.
prominently like in surrogacy, but I have
Yeah.
2 siblings. So
Yeah,
like
who are older.
who are older and like we're a lot more aware of like things going on. So
Right.
do you think that they were negatively affected then or now?
No, and because it was like 2 decades ago, doing it for same-sex couples at that point was kind of new. Like it was, you didn't talk a lot about that, but we did, and we were very involved in their school, and their school knew it was for 2 gay men, and they were, I think, in 6th grade and 9th grade when we ended up doing the triplets, and they like knew, their friends knew, their friends' parents knew, and we just got a lot of love and support from the community. It wasn't a negative thing, and I really think it opened up. They're great kids to begin with, but I just think it gave them that extra level of, you know what, a family doesn't have to be mom, dad, kids. It can be made up of so many different things, and getting to that end result of having a baby can result in so many different ways, and we have issues in our own
Fertility. Yeah, we have
fertility
fertility
issues that
situations in our own
different
family.
things
Yeah.
had to get done. So I just think it opened their minds, and it was so normal. And I really think it's the surrogate and her partner, or just if the surrogate doesn't have a partner, the community and the family, how they address it, how they're open about it. If it's just something the surrogate's doing and it's in this little box and nobody else gets to be a part of it, and you don't introduce the kids, of course it's going to like set up this division.
Yeah.
I just don't think most surrogates we know do that. It's a family affair. It almost has to be for it to work right. Yeah. And then you, of course, no, nothing affects you. It's fine.
I'm chilling.
I
I'm
took
good.
it, Uno reverse it.
Yeah.
I
She
was
was
like,
the
let
one
me be a
who
surrogate then.
She was the one who did the shock value every time we go to a restaurant or something. Yeah, they're triplets and they're not
Oh,
ours.
come on. I bet, and if any one of your mothers was carrying triplets and it was not your siblings, you would be like, oh my gosh, so like it's triplets and they're not ours. Like, come on, it's so fun.
Yeah,
Kids love a good reaction.
My 5-year-old keeps telling his teacher, oh, there's a baby in there. There's a baby in there. I'm like,
so cute.
Yeah.
Aw,
Yeah.
love it.
See, I was
I
about like
promise
5
they
or
know.
6, something like that.
Yeah.
I was young.
Yeah,
It was
you were
fun.
little.
Let
You
it
were
be. Okay, so let's see. Another thing is that IPs have full control over a surrogate, a gestational carrier. That's quite a hard myth. Read your contract.
Yeah.
Were you guys worried about that though, going into surrogacy? Like, is that like a fear that you had?
I
You were.
actually, yes, I did have that fear. Especially because my intended mother, she is vegan.
Oh,
And
okay.
I
So
was
food.
so afraid that she was gonna make me eat the way that she did. And I'm like, I, first of all, don't want to. Second of all, health issues for myself during pregnancy. Obviously, getting to know her and talking to lawyers and other surrogates, I learned that's not a thing, that doesn't happen.
Right.
And then when I got to meet her and she came out here, she did cook a lot of vegan meals.
Okay.
But with my permission, she's like, I'd like to share, because food is really important to her. So she's like, I'd like to share my side, but it was always consensual. Like, it was, do you mind if I show you this? Are you willing to try this? And
Right.
which
That's
I
nice.
appreciate, including even vitamins and stuff like that. She always asked permission before she suggested something.
Okay.
And helped me out. Even asked my doctor, like, hey, I'd like to, try this. Would it be okay with you and your doctor? And it was really cool.
Oh,
That's sweet.
That's really cool.
That's very
It
cool.
is.
Jennifer, were you concerned about that? I mean, this was, and what you did it. How many years ago did you start?
How old is she's? It was 2017 when she was born, so 2016 I started.
Okay, so like 8 years ago.
8 years. Okay.
Yeah. No, and especially like my first couple is 2 guys, so they were just like,
Whatevs. Yeah.
and like international, so they're like, oh, whatever your doctor says.
Right.
So, like, not concerned at all.
Good.
So that wasn't an issue. And even with my IM totally not an issue. Like, you go through all that with your contracts, so
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
you go through everything with the lawyer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Caitlin, were you worried when you signed up?
No, I didn't really know what I was doing anyway at the
Sure,
beginning.
sure.
But I think the support of a great agency will support you
Yeah.
through that. And same with like the legal text. I also only had just one IP, so I feel like the pressure was a little bit lower,
Okay.
Okay.
which was really nice.
Yeah.
So I definitely got lucky there. But if I were to go through it all again, I would definitely know like what to look for. But I didn't get any sense of that. But I could see if somebody was in like a really pushy agency or they weren't prepared, they didn't listen to other people's stories, they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into, then maybe they could get taken advantage of in that way. But
Yeah.
I
wasn't
did have an IP, a heterosexual couple, way back when, and the
Oh,
match
yeah.
ended up getting broken because one of the reasons was there was a list of foods that I had to stick to, and they
yeah.
wanted it in the contract. And I'm like, I've already done 2 surrogacies, one of them being a triplet surrogacy, and they're healthy and no, I can't do that. And it was a real bad sticking point. So we had to go our separate ways. I was not about to do it.
Mhm.
So, but again, that's a long time ago. I think people are coming around to, hey, you guys have had children, you know how to do this. You're healthy, your children
Mhm.
seem to be healthy. Do the same thing, follow your doctor's
Yeah.
orders. That's, you know.
There
Yeah.
are
And I
surrogates out there that will do that. It's just
No, totally.
there's none
I-
right here, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a conversation for sure.
yeah.
For sure. For
The
sure.
matching point.
I mean,
Yeah.
how are you going to know
Exactly,
what
yes.
your cravings are? Like, you might want a milkshake and maybe dairy's
Well-
off the list, and you're like, wait a minute.
I mean, Phoebe Buffet was a vegan and all she wanted was pastrami and meat, and
Oh.
like Joey gave up the meat. Like, we don't
So
have to go
funny.
into friends, but I'm just
That's so
saying,
funny.
like,
Yeah.
I'm literally wearing my friend's shirt right now.
Ah,
me too, girl.
Thank you.
cute.
And
That's great,
I've
so
never
surrogate.
I've never been asked to do that. I also just have like a crazy diet restriction anyways. My stomach just hates me. So if anybody wants to take anything away, I'm basically not eating. That's kind of what it comes down to because I'm already so limited. But yeah, so if you're out there and you're a first time surrogate, don't be afraid. You don't have to like eat strict. Just don't eat like raw fish, the normal things.
Right.
know?
And they'll take alcohol out of in the contract, watch the caffeine. It's those normal things, but you
It's
would
the
do that
normal
in
stuff.
normal pregnancy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Even with your own baby. Exactly. Okay. So a couple more and then we're gonna get into like 2 fun ones that are like hot topics.
Okay.
But okay, so it's easy money. Anybody think surrogacy is
Oh
easy
my
money?
God.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
No, because it's not.
No, I broke
Jesus.
it down. Like I
Did
remember
you?
listening to your guys' stuff and I was calculating it out and it's like $1 an
Yeah,
hour.
no, it's
Like,
wild.
Right?
no way.
No, you get paid. Honestly, especially as a first time surrogate, I think you get I think like a normal like restaurant worker might get paid more. Like if they're working full time, like it's just
It's not.
like what?
Not
Like
easy
no.
money.
For all that we put our bodies through, no.
And then
It's
the
not
I get
aftershock that
paid
comes
enough.
with it, the before, during, and after.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the
I
length
like
of
to
time. You
Oh,
you could
yeah.
be lucky and be done in a year, or it could take you 2 years, and you're looking at that same money stretched out. It's not. You're
Well,
not
the
getting a
slack your
windfall.
partner picks up too, because you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
do what you need to do.
Oh,
So then
yep.
calculate that in.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yep.
It's
The mental toll.
Yes.
I like to consider myself pretty mentally stable for the most part.
yeah.
I mean, I do have 3 kids, but I've noticed myself like break down a little bit more during surrogacy, which is not the usual for me. And
Sure.
I'm like, wait a minute, like, why am I like this? This
Yeah.
isn't normal. But no, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Really?
And I've done some pretty hard things.
You were really sick too, huh?
I
Yeah.
have never experienced morning sickness like that. Like
Yeah.
I had to go to the ER because I got so severely dehydrated that
Oh
I
my gosh.
passed out, and they made me stay for like almost 4 hours just so that they can do like multiple bags of
Yeah.
IV fluids.
like the IV fluids.
fluid.
I had a really big I always mispronounce it, the subchronic hematoma.
Oh yeah. You said it right.
You said it right.
Yay.
Mhm.
I always feel like I'm saying it wrong.
You're good.
But yeah, it was horrible. I thought, I'll hit the second trimester, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, I was worse after I hit 14 weeks. And finally by 16 weeks, I was starting to feel a little bit better. And now at 20 weeks, I'm okay, but there's still certain days I'm still getting nauseous. And that was not something I had experienced with my own kids. My own kids, I got a little bit nauseous, didn't want to eat certain foods, but I was fine. This was like I had cravings that were so strong. I went to go eat it, and immediately the baby's like, nope. And I was like, okay, we're
Wow.
fighting now.
Oh gosh. See, and these
Yikes.
aren't things that you're
Right.
prepared for, because
Yeah.
like
No.
every pregnancy is different, but then add the hormones that you're putting into your body to prepare
Mhm.
yourself, and like those don't just like go away once you get pregnant. Like you're still taking the medications, you're still amping up your body. Like it's gonna do wild things to it might do wild things to you. Like I won't say it
I
will,
tell
just
I
prepare.
tell every girl
Hmm.
that comes and talks to me about surrogacy, they'll always go with, I had very easy pregnancies, and I'm like, buckle up. Because it will not be the same. Like
Different.
I hope it is. I hope it
Mhm.
is super easy for you, but don't go into it with the expectation that it will be easy,
Right.
because it is not.
Yeah.
And even like some girls they'll have canceled cycles and
Mhm.
have to do the medication over again.
Yeah.
Their transfers will fail, have to start all over again,
Mhm.
and then add
Yeah,
all of
because
the
you won't have a
emotions.
baby.
Right.
Yeah, right. And there's
Year
still
and a
no
half.
baby at the end of it.
5
Yeah.
transfers, no baby.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh my
my
gosh, Jennifer, I
gosh.
remember that.
And I don't get paid.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because you're
Right.
you're
'Cause you're
Canada.
Canada.
Oh,
Oh crap.
Oh, look at how we all are just like we feel
Yeah.
your pain.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that
and that was
hurt.
my second journey.
That
So
I
it
hurt.
basically cry right now.
was like a year and a
Wow.
half of
Right.
No,
roller
it's a lot.
coaster.
Wow.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
And yeah, I had a second canceled cycle and a chemical, and yeah, 3 fails. And
Right. So wait, for you,
oh,
it's not even money.
money.
It's not even money. Like
Mhm.
not like
Yeah.
I get it. Like commercialized surrogacy, you want to say it's easy money. It's not. But like for Canada, it's not even money, like at all. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
oh
and
my
I've
God.
pumped all 3 times. Like I'm currently pumping, and we don't get paid for that either.
Oh man.
You do not?
So yeah, like it's
Wait,
definitely not money for you at all. So that
Wow.
We
that's a fun
can't.
argument.
We can
Oh
only
my
donate milk. You can't sell it here.
Oh
Jeez.
wow.
And are you
That's-
donating it to your family? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
wow. But still.
This time is just,
You're
yeah, I've pumped in
amazing.
one
Wow.
box. My
I
last
know.
journey I gave to the surrogate, my friend who had a baby around the same time, and she was a low producer. Plus I did 3 one-time donations to like 3 separate families too.
Wow.
'Cause I'm an
Wow.
overproducer. So
That is,
girl.
yeah, that's a lot of work, especially as
It
an overproducer,
is.
and you need so much more.
did it
Did
like
they
every
pay
3
for
hours I
did
pump.
they
I
pay
don't pump
for
at night though.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
They
Did
pay
they
for like the pump,
the
and they pay
supplies
for
and
like the
stuff?
bags and
Okay.
like to
Okay.
send the milk,
Oh,
Still,
okay.
that kind of stuff.
But
It's a lot of
I'm
work
not out of
though.
pocket for
yeah.
that,
yeah.
but yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to structure your whole day around it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's even
Wow.
more time away from your own family.
Yep.
Mhm.
Your
Oh my
kid's big
gosh.
into playing with you, but you're like,
Just
Bless
yeah.
your heart, girl.
I forgot about Canada.
I know.
it's
Oh my
not
gosh.
for
Not
her.
in a mean way. Just like
Yeah,
the
not in a
fact
mean
that
way,
like,
just
yeah. Yeah.
that's a whole nother level when you say it's easy money because it's
Because it's
Mhm.
not
for sure
money.
not in Canada. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Wow.
Your laws are
Wish.
gonna change because it's so
I
messed
hope
up.
so. I
So
hope
messed
so.
up.
It probably will, but I'm retired now, so I won't benefit from that.
Aw.
I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Paving the way though for all others.
Yes.
You are.
You
Oh my
pioneer.
gosh.
You. Oh,
Okay, a little we'll touch on this one. But then we have 2 others. So playing God. I've heard this one recently and I never actually understood it. And then I understood it and I was like, that's a wild analogy.
the surrogate is playing God or the whole
Like
system is
the
playing?
act of surrogacy is playing
Okay.
God because you
Okay.
pick the like you hand pick the embryos, you make them, good or grade A or whatever, and then you can pick boy or girl. I know not Canada, but like you
Mhm.
can pick boy or girl,
Yeah.
and so like you are essentially playing God. And I'm just like, that's a wild statement. I don't think I think that that's a
Yeah.
huge myth. I think that there's just science because
Right.
especially people who have faith, it's at least when I grew up, it was either you have faith or you have science. Like they don't really go together. Maybe I'm being uneducated when I'm saying that, but a lot of people either believe in faith or believe in science. So putting those together, it wouldn't make sense saying playing God. I don't know. You guys have thoughts?
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I have so many arguments.
Oh, okay.
Lay it on us, Kat.
I'm full of arguments today.
I love it.
I've had people argue that with me too. They're like, you can't play God. God did that for a reason. I'm not a religious person myself, but I respect people who have different religions. I'll fight for your right to have that religion. Just don't let it dictate what it does with my life.
Oh, preach that. Yes.
Mhm.
But somebody, I think on my TikTok actually, they're like, this, it's God's will if they're infertile. And I'm like, but let's think about it this way. If you believe that God created everything, created the universe, created you, created, just everything, then it's safe to assume that he created science, right? And then they're like, well, no. I'm like, but think about it. IVF's available, but maybe it's because God helped science develop, and now here's IVF, and that's God's will. They blocked me right after that. But
that's okay. You don't need them in your life.
It's okay.
Exactly. But that's my argument. I'm like,
Yeah.
you believe so deeply that God created everything,
Sure,
then
it's a great argument.
Yeah, you should believe that he created science.
Well, nobody comes after IVF in general that hard.
It
Do
does.
they?
Right.
Well, this is the next thing. The Pope came after IVF that hard, so that was something else I wanted to.
Yes,
His is
absolutely.
a
not.
huge
You know
myth.
how I feel.
Man,
Because if you're just a couple who's having infertility issues and you go this route and you end up getting pregnant yourself through IVF or artificial
IUI or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Do people look at that as you're playing God? No,
I've never heard it put that way. And if you look at like surrogate births compared to non-surrogate births, I'm pretty sure the percentage of non-surrogate births is skyrocketed over that. Why does it even?
Yeah.
It's such a small percentage of births.
Yeah. Because people want to get in your business. That's all. Because they just want to judge you. Yeah. I don't know. Our society
has to be an argument for everything. So
yeah,
I know. Jennifer, you look like you're pondering. No. Just kidding. No, okay. But so like, because the Pope, right? We didn't really address it when it was happening because like I'm not going to give negative. I'm not going to give false things the light of day. I just don't really care to. But because we're talking about myths, I literally looked up the definition of deplorable because that's what he called surrogacy, right? Okay, so deplorable, for those that don't know the actual meaning while you're listening, is deserving strong condemnation.
Okay, condemnation.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't pronounce things.
That's he has his right. He has a right to speak his mind, and lots of people listen to him because the Catholic faith is strong and people are followers. So he's going to get people in his court on that. But what I didn't understand was, why did he feel he needed to address it? What was being so detrimental
what was happening
to the Pope
out of everything else in the world?
Correct. That he needed to address that. That is where I went with it. Like, you can say what you want, but why are you even bringing it up? To get a rise, to get our attention off of something else? I didn't understand it. But did I hear from my triplet dads? Oh, I did. Oh my. They're like, this has to be a topic that you all talk about. I'm like, okay, calm down.
You didn't even tell me.
We'll get there. Yeah. Well, maybe for another time. But yeah, they were pissed. I was like, oops.
What? The whole community was pissed. Like, I'm not a religious person. We didn't grow up religious. So to me, a priest or what is thing?
He's the highest of the
whatever.
Catholic religion.
Whatever. He's a guy who is in charge of lots of religion things. And like, to me, it just didn't really matter, just because, not that it didn't matter, it just, it didn't affect me in that way because, one, like, cool, you can say whatever you want, just like any other random off the street. I get that, like, it's kind of like, oh, well, a lot of people are going to look up to him and think this, but really, maybe because I'm in the community, I saw more backlash than I did acceptance of what he said. So
Mhm.
it just didn't make it still doesn't make any sense. But
Right.
English
So
is
he
hard.
condemns it. He doesn't believe in it. And
I know
again,
that. Yeah.
going back to, I don't understand why he even felt it necessary, unless he had some advisors who were just like felt so
crazy.
strongly about it, and
I
that
was
they
gonna
were
say
trying
his
to put it
PR
in his
team
ear.
sucks.
It's just it's a huge thing to bring up, and you're like, why? People are just
Yeah.
trying to go about their
Because it's
lives.
not even, where does he live? I don't want to say this wrong. What country
Rome.
does he live in?
The Vatican in Rome, Italy.
In Rome. And it's illegal to do surrogacy in Italy. So, like, I don't really understand how this even got brought up. Like, it's already illegal there.
Are any of you of the Catholic? I mean, I don't even, we can cut this out, but no. Okay.
I grew up in a household that was Catholic.
Me too. Yeah. But I don't follow it. And so
I don't either, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I have no ties to religion.
Were all three of you shocked by that, by his statement? Like, what was your first thought when you heard that?
My first thought was not another man trying to get into women's business.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love you, Kat.
And
Way to go, Kat.
yeah. And there was some pretty like serious, I mean, we could redirect it in some pretty serious ways. We all know a lot of stereotypes
Mhm.
about priests. And I was like,
Yeah.
you should probably focus on some other things.
Right?
Like
Yeah.
redirect, don't come for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Do some self-reflection before you go and speak on a
Mhm.
subject that you don't know anything about and doesn't
Mhm.
even affect you. They're like,
It,
I
it
think
doesn't.
the
Like
only
help
two
thy neighbor.
countries-
I'm helping. What are you doing?
Right.
But,
That's
like,
a commandment.
he literally can't even see it happen in his own country. So I just don't, like, it's not like he can walk down the street and be
Weird.
like, oh, how disgusting, you're a surrogate. Like, it's not going to happen there. Like, it just doesn't make sense how it
Yeah.
affects his life.
No.
He holds audiences with people. And I mean, my thought on this was, somebody probably put it in his ear and he got to thinking about it and he just didn't know a whole lot about it. And I just think maybe it just went down a path that he thought he needed to speak on it. I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah.
for him to just pull that out of a hat and kind of go, yeah, this is going to be what I talk about today.
my
Yeah.
only thought on like the reasoning he's talking about it, I feel like surrogacy is getting a lot more attention nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, especially from like when you were a surrogate, Ellen,
Right.
to now, there's a lot of social media, there's a lot of
Mhm.
agencies, there's a lot more representation and a lot more people talking about it.
Agreed.
And maybe that just rubbed him the wrong way. I still don't get it, but that could be
Might
maybe.
be. Yeah.
Maybe.
Because we
This
didn't-
might not, I mean, this might not have anything to do with it. I don't know. I was really curious on how old he is, so I just looked it up. He's 87. So I really think that he should just like stay in his lane. He's old. It's like if we were, it's like how we talked earlier, circling it back. Like,
He's a
there are
wise
certain
man.
people that we will elaborate on what surrogacy is. If I were to have met him in a store and he would have said congratulations, I would have said thank you and walked away. Because I'm not going to explain it to somebody who has no idea how to understand the concept.
Right.
So like, I don't know what else to say to that.
But I also think, because like Kat said, it's so in the limelight right now, and it's so
Yeah.
talked about, and there's so much social media about this, and stars are having
Yeah.
babies through surrogacy, and
Yeah.
they're promoting it, and that the education's there, the information's there.
Mhm.
It's not in this deep dark dungeon like it was 22 years ago when I started. And it's acceptable. Like, I mean, there weren't a lot of agencies when I did this. There were not. And to find an agency that dealt with a same-sex couple was kind of tough. I found
Yeah.
one because I had to do it for same-sex. I was like, that's the only way I'm doing it. But I just think this is what amazes me about surrogacy, and the differences in 20 years, the leaps and bounds, and the compensation you guys are getting now, and the respect you're getting now. You're on the same level. Like, IPs aren't usually calling all the shots, and back then it was they're paying the money. They say it goes. You don't get a say. And the science. It's fascinating to me to see the differences, and most of them are in the positive direction. Most.
Meet Brandon and Jake, new fathers to baby girl Cecilia and looking for a surrogate who can help her become the best big sister. They are located in Texas and are interested in an agency journey. If you'd like to learn more or contact them, head over to their Looking for a Match introduction podcast after this. Brandon and Jake, we wish you the best of luck on your journey. Please note we are not a matching platform or agency. You have a voice, you have a story, and you deserve to be heard. Please do not contact Stop.Sit.Surrogate for inquiries to potential matches. Instead, contact them directly. You said compensation, you said IPs pay, all these things. Anybody remember? Oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Somebody help me. We did a thing last year. She talked about surrogacies, transactional. Oh, she's an African-American woman. What is her name? And nobody likes her.
Oh, she's
Oh.
friends with one of the Kardashians, isn't she? Or
No,
no?
she's not friends.
She's
She doesn't like
Candace
them.
Owen.
Oh,
Candace,
Oh, Candace Owen.
Candace
Thank
Owen.
you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. She said Good job.
Thank you.
Good job, Jennifer and Mom. Proud of you guys. No, she stated that
Yeah.
it's like prostitution. We're selling our bodies. Biggest myth, I'm gonna say that's my top 3 biggest myths because like I'm not standing on a corner. No disrespect to anybody who does that. Just it's very different. Like I'm not selling my body. Like
Mhm.
I did hear we had a girl on and she did say something and I was like, oh, interesting. She said, I'm
I
renting out
remember
my
that.
uterus. And I was
Yeah.
like, cool. I'm cool to say that. I'm not using it. Like that's
But you're
fine.
getting
But I'm
paid
not.
for a service. So
Yeah.
people can take that and misconstrue it and say, hey, you're
Mhm.
selling your body to have a baby for somebody else. Okay, well, if you want to view it that way, all right. But the community doesn't view it that way. The girls and the women who are going through it don't view it that way.
Well,
The
I don't know.
IVF
Do
doc-
you guys view it that way?
Absolutely not.
No.
Good answer.
It's funny that you say this almost exactly. So I had a comment not too long ago that said um that it was wrong for me to sell my body, that modern day surrogacy and adoption were modern day human trafficking or child trafficking.
Oh, I've heard this one.
Are you
And
kidding?
oh, I had to respond. I had to. But it took me over an hour to like articulate the proper words because I was just so upset. She also compared surrogacy to slavery, and I was so I I was,
What?
What
lack
is
of
this
better words,
person?
I was pissed. Um, and
This was a female?
I a female, and she it was incredibly frustrating, and I told her, I had a conversation with her privately, as well as responding to her publicly, because there are people who actually believe that. First of all, I addressed the fact that, you're right, we cannot sell our bodies because I am not selling my body. I
Mhm.
made a mutual agreement with my IM over this, journey,
Yeah.
and it was consensual. And that's something that boggles people's brains for some reason. They don't understand consent. I feel like
Mhm.
that's a huge thing
Yeah.
in our day and age. They don't understand consent, and that consent is both
Mhm.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
And my IM consented to paying me a certain amount. I consented to doing this for her for a certain amount. While some people can consider that transactional, it wasn't transactional for us.
Mhm.
No.
I also addressed the fact that she compared it to slavery. And I told her, this is very bigoted and you really should look inwards and figure yourself out before you try to talk on a topic that you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
I asked her privately, can you cite your sources? Like, can you talk to me and explain to me why you believe this?
You go, cat.
And
Mhm.
she sent me outdated links from 2002.
Oh my God.
There was
Okay.
a lot of information. And everything was very repetitive. Also, not to like be sexist, it was written by a man. Um, and
Shocker.
it was a lot of misinformation about how females' bodies worked. And
Mhm.
I was just so blown away. It was my first like real moment of like pure rage, I think, over that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't even have dealt with that. That would have
Bless
been,
your heart for
yeah.
replying. Because whenever people say
Mhm.
negative things, I'm like, my account,
Mhm.
I leave happy things on here. I don't care. Like, I don't take the time to reply because like I'm finally hit my Zen bubble and I'm like, I don't care to fight with you about something you're not going to change your mind on. So
I
if you
have to go
want
to Kennedy's inbox. I'm like,
Yeah.
did you see this?
I have so many like requests to like read, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not. I can already see the first sentence. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't need to talk to you. It's fine if you are that
I wouldn't
obsessed.
normally, but I think just how I wouldn't normally, I probably wouldn't have. I don't like to be confrontational, but I'm very, very passionate about surrogacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
get that.
it's
Yeah.
where I have to defend it, especially because I feel so strongly about it. I
Yeah.
see the positive impact that it makes on people's lives, and my whole perspective has changed on the IVF community and just, the struggles that we ourselves don't go through, and we take our own fertility for granted sometimes. And
Totally.
this was something that I felt strongly about. I'm like, I have to address it because
Yeah.
people need to understand and need to stop trying to compare surrogacy to something that is completely unrelated.
Gosh.
And stop trying to, like, if you want to have a conversation with me and actually learn about surrogacy and then make your own opinion based on that information, go right ahead. But
Yeah.
if you're just going to be bigoted and, just have all this lack of information, throw it out there, then
Yeah. You know what I do a lot, Kat? I put a link to our podcast and I say, here you go, here's some education, and I just
I'll
walk
do that
away.
next time. I'll be like, here,
Yeah.
go talk to Stop.Sit.Surrogate.
Yeah, like there you go.
That's all
Like
the
that's
information you need.
yeah, because at the end
Actual
of the
surrogate
day,
podcast, not
Yeah.
some bogus.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But at the end of the day, if they're, and this is just like this is just something that I've just learned, because I mean, obviously we get a lot of backlash. Not that my mom, is aware of it, because she might be, but not as
Be aware
not
of
as.
it if you'd like to share it.
No, it's okay, because the thing is, for me, it's just not
Right.
worth it. And so like I've realized, like, oh, if this comment is going to seep back into my home life, it's not worth it. You're not worth my time. You're not worth my energy. Like, I'm happy. I've helped people. You clearly don't understand. You're never gonna understand. But here's the link anyways, and please go listen. Like,
And if they want to learn, I'm not saying we're the only place they can learn. There's tons of women
but
for
I'm
me,
gonna
right?
promote my podcast. Like,
Yeah. There's so many groups out there that people
there's
can
so
learn
many podcasts.
if they want to open their minds. They can learn, but they're choosing not to. They just want you to hear their negativity and just kind of go with that. You're like, nah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Last one, ladies, just because it's gonna kick me and it's just gonna bug me if I don't ask it. I'm seeing now more comments saying that surrogates are desperate and that's why we become surrogates to gain money. Jennifer, I know that's not your case, because you don't get anything, and I love you and I'm so sorry. So right there, I mean, do you want to touch on it, since literally you're literally getting no money, right? Like, you're just getting reimbursed for receipts.
Get reimbursed. Yeah.
Yeah, no money.
Yeah. And you've done it 4 times, but you've done it more.
Well,
right?
4 times, but I've only had like 3 babies.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So, my second one was a year and a half of
Right.
craziness and the baby.
Right. And in the US, you get there are compensations throughout that, like, to support you along the way.
Yeah. It would be nice to, but no, like, and that we still like, and that's the thing, like, so many people are so uninformed. That's one of the first questions even Canadian surrogates get is like, how much are you getting?
Right.
Like,
Oh, interesting.
and stuff like that. And we're like, well, we can't. So
Right.
nothing.
Right.
And I don't think it's a bad thing that you guys do get money, because again, it's not as if you're totally being paid. Like, it's for pain and suffering. Like, it's hard. Like, being pregnant is hard, let alone add in all like the other things you go through, all the meds and the appointments and all that stuff.
Which you guys go through too. Canadian women go through that too. But I think I mean, I know why Kenny and I got into surrogacy, but because of that division of income, what makes a Canadian woman tick? And I'm not saying you're all bunched together, but what is it? Is it you just have this love that you want to help someone? Like, is that really what pushes the drive? Because that's a long time.
It is. A lot is helping someone. It's, you know, it's when you hand the baby over and what
Right.
you get to see afterwards.
Right.
Hopefully, and like continue to hopefully have the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Obviously, even here, not all journeys go well
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all
after you
know
hand
that.
over a baby, but yeah. So,
You
but
gotta,
knowing that you've done something,
yeah.
it's like it's not totally selfless either. I'm gonna say like it does feel good
Yeah.
to like when you tell people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's great." They're like,
Yeah.
"How amazing. That's awesome of you." And
Yeah.
you're like, "Yes, I know." But like, um,
Yeah.
like it is awesome. And like it's really hard too, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't think like even getting paid, like no one's desperate. First of all, that's another misunderstanding that people don't understand. You can't, in at least North America, like in Canada and the US, you
Mhm.
can't be a surrogate if you're
Exactly.
not financially stable,
Right.
Correct.
which a lot
Right.
of people don't get. And that's why they like try and argue it. And it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should educate yourself first.
Right.
Or like at least if they asked, I think that's a lot of problem that we all have is that people just assume and they don't ask. Like if you don't know, I have no problem like explaining to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we'd be more open and not so
Yeah.
hostile. But to accuse everyone of like being desperate, that's not how it works here and in the US.
It's
Like you
not.
can't.
You
You would
can't.
not be allowed to do it.
Uh-uh. You're on any
Mm-mm.
type of financial assistance. That's a negative. You can't go. You can't be one.
Yeah.
If you're
It's the
surrogate.
same here. You can't. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know.
Is there any myth that we did not touch that we should?
I can think of one.
Oh,
Ooh,
go.
share.
It's just popped into my mind. Remember that conversation we had? Well, I guess I couldn't say conversation, but there was a claim by an individual made that said surrogates want another baby as soon as they have the surrogate baby because they need to
The void.
fill a void.
Mm, interesting. No.
Okay, I coming from somebody who had 4 babies in, I think it was 6 years.
Mhm.
I miss being pregnant because I literally knew nothing else in my 20s. Like it feels weird not to be pregnant, but I'm not over here popping out my own baby and like if I really wanted to have one right away. Like so I find that very interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. I don't agree with that. There's a difference in being uh in being what is it comfortable with being pregnant and kind of like just living that like for your life because a lot of surrogates, especially if you're done having your family, not even if you're done having family, skip, I said
Yeah.
that, like just a lot of surrogates, we tend to do it back to back because it's like, well, like, sure, I'm not having any of my kids at this moment in my life, and why not help another
Yeah.
family? It's
Yeah.
not
It was the
because I
most
want to do it.
unrelatable claim I've ever heard in my life.
That's so
I was like, there's
crazy.
no way that I would want to turn around
Oh my God.
and do that.
Have
And isn't
another baby like immediately.
Have your own, yeah, another one of your own because you just had to,
Give
air
one
quotes,
away.
give one away.
Yeah.
Oh, like that. No,
Yeah. No.
I've had my son and I've had 3 and I don't need one right now.
Yeah.
I have
It was
little nieces
wild.
and nephews. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
And there's
It
got to be
was,
something to say the 6 weeks or the 8 weeks postpartum that you're not getting up in the middle of the night. And maybe if you're pumping, okay, but you're not getting up in the middle of the night. You actually can rest and recover and heal and maybe spend some time with your kids without having a big belly. Like I loved that part. I was like, you don't have to get up.
that was my favorite
Right.
part.
Right?
oh, it's the best.
So
Cannot
Trimester
wait.
4 or whatever, the 4th
Yeah.
trimester is the best trimester. And
Yeah.
I joke often, but I'm kind of serious. Like I tell my mom, I'm like, when I have my next baby, you can take it for 6 months and then I'll come pick it up because I'm just not a newborn. She's a
You don't
newborn.
believe me.
She like loves those things. And I'm like,
I
no,
love them.
I don't want
Mm-mm.
the sleepless nights. I want to be a normal human. Like,
Even with my own kids, I did not vibe with the whole newborn stage.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. It was
Yeah.
hard.
no.
Yeah. It is hard because they just want. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it's like 6 weeks before you get a smile. You're like, that's
Yeah.
6 times 7 is 42 days. That's a long ass time. We do all
And it
this
might
stuff.
just be gas. It might not even be a real smile. It might be gas, and then there's a
Oh, way to make it
explosion.
more depressing, Kat. Like you finally get the smile and then like JK.
I love it.
Not for you, mom.
So
It
funny.
happens. Okay.
So funny.
I know.
It happens.
Oh my
God.
gosh.
It's
That's a
hilarious.
wild claim. I've never heard that one, Caitlin. That's
Yeah,
Wow.
that was
Yeah, that is.
Huh.
God,
Yeah.
give yourself time to.
I couldn't believe it.
no.
That was the first time I had heard anything like that.
There's a first for I'm sure there's gonna be a first for so many other uneducated, stupid things that people say.
And it was posted on somebody's story for like her thousands of followers to see.
Oh my gosh, I know who you're talking about. So
have
many
an
people
inkling.
messaged me that day and I was like, who is this chick? I don't even know who she is, but she was making a lot of claims about surrogacy that was very false. And you know what? I don't know your name, but there's a podcast out there called Stop.Sit.Surrogate, and we're happy to educate you.
Mhm.
And there's also other podcasts. There's just so much information these days. It's just like, look it up.
Oh,
Google
look, good.
surrogacy, and like it will give you a lot of information these days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, I can't believe that. That's a
Crazy.
I didn't know she said that. That's interesting.
Mhm.
Any more?
Is there any
Okay.
other myths?
I have one
Yeah.
Okay.
that when the surrogate baby is taken away from the surrogate, it causes trauma
Thank
to
you.
both the surrogate and the baby.
Taken
No.
away is
Take the
the
baby.
phrase I hate. It's not.
Well, it's
given.
usually ripped away from the surrogate. That's
Oh,
the
sorry.
term I've
I'm
heard.
sorry.
Yeah.
Ripped away.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And MJ on The Biggest Asks, she's addressed this a few times because she's an intended, for those who don't know, The Biggest Ask is a great source for surrogacy information. And MJ's the intended mother on that account. And she has 2 children. She has 2 sons from it. And she got that claim a lot. And it's the dumbest claim. And her children are perfectly fine. And every child I know from surrogacy is perfectly fine too. There's no ripping away. So is it what, let's wrap it back to adoption. Isn't it the same as adoption then? Like if you're going to say it that way, Mom, do you feel ripped away?
No,
I didn't think so.
not at all.
I don't know. It's the dumbest thing
I think
ever.
I think it's hilarious. I feel like I'll cry more postpartum because my intended mother is gonna go back to China.
Yes.
I bond more. I think I've bonded more with
The mom.
my intended
The mom.
mother.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've had people ask me like, how do you not get attached to the baby? I'm like, well, let's be real. I didn't get attached to my children until I got to know them. They were
Same.
strangers when they were, yes, I grew them and I knew I cared for them and I loved them, but they were strangers and I had to get to know them for that bond to grow. That's
Right.
with my own children.
Yeah,
Oh,
same.
oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the whole guilt of the, you're supposed to have that instant love. No,
No,
it's not.
no.
That's not.
Kat, I didn't.
Gestational
That's not
surrogacy from the start is always a
Yeah.
constant reminder this isn't your child. So,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
then you're in it for how many months before
No.
you even transfer? How many shots
Right.
before you even transfer?
Right.
Yep.
Lawyers, psych, meetings, like,
It's a lot.
yeah.
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 It's a lot.
No way.
And your active relationship with the IP or the IPs, I think if you ask 100 surrogates, I'm pretty sure 99 of them would say that, oh, I miss my IPs.
Right.
Like,
I miss her now, and I'm still like, I was just talking to her.
oh yeah, that's the relationship, that's the bond. I don't know this baby inside me. I'm helping at that point I'm helping my friend. Like I'm helping this person that I've developed a relationship with, who I adore and respect. And that's
This
the
baby and I are fighting, he's making me throw up.
right. Exactly. I think we covered a lot.
We did. We covered
We
a
did,
lot.
yeah.
And guys, we did it kind of within the hour. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great. Great insight,
Thank
ladies.
you for
Great
having us
insight.
on.
Oh my gosh, thank
Yes,
you guys
thank
so much
you.
for coming on. It was so lovely to like meet you face to face. Kat, I've kind of seen you on TikTok, but like Caitlin, it was
Oh,
nice
yeah.
to meet you face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you.
Aw, and congratulations, Jennifer.
Yes, you should come on and share your story and do
Yeah,
it.
share your birth story.
Share your birth story with us.
For sure. Cool. Awesome. Oh my
If I
gosh.
want
Well,
to
thank
see
you,
that.
ladies. Have
Thanks,
a wonderful
ladies.
night.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you all.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
We'll see
thank
you
you.
again.
Bye.
Bye, guys. That was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah. There's some crazy myths, man. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, I didn't register the claim one until she said it again. I was like, oh, okay. So like
Yeah.
when you have the surrogate baby, you're mourning the loss of like a child. So you need your own child. That's wild.
I've never felt that, but I'm just one person. So I don't think you felt that either, but yeah.
No.
Because you came
I
to
like being pregnant. There's just a
I-
difference. Not every
I know.
surrogate does. Just for me in general, my
Right.
body's just known pregnancy my whole 20s. So it's like,
Yeah.
why aren't you? What's happening? There's not all
Yeah.
these hormones in your body. It's weird. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is for me. Hmm.
Yeah. And if you wanted it, I don't know. If you wanted a child, you would create a child in your own family. I don't know. It's just, there's so many things that overlap that people just don't
I know. Very
understand. Yeah.
uneducated.
Yeah. It's
I
weird.
know.
The
We
human
talked about
trafficking
all.
thing, the human trafficking comment really, really
I forgot about that
took a note
comment
with
too.
me, and I had to really like keep it in because I'm like, like that's scary to me. That
No, I
mm.
think Candace Owens said that too. Like
She might have.
somebody
She
on a
might have.
news channel said that, like a
Yeah.
conservative news channel said that. And
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that because like,
Yeah.
no, because that's like the wildest thing. But like, how, like, don't give surrogacy that name. Like, that's
Right.
not at all what this is. Like,
Uh-uh.
somebody actually went on social media and like went off and was like, this, I forget who it was, but like it was like, this is what human trafficking is, not surrogacy. Like, and like
Oh,
gave
good.
definitions and
Good.
examples and everything. I was like, good, because like surrogacy is not human trafficking. How
Mm-mm.
sad.
Yeah. It's a mutual, like Kat was saying, it's a mutual contract and agreement, consensual agreement between two parties
Yep.
to bring forth a baby in this way.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Like,
Pretty simple.
then they agree. It's not like you're pulling women off the street. Okay, you're going to carry this baby. You're going to get no.
No, it's not like
mm,
the stupid TV shows and movies
crazy.
that they put out there for drama. Like,
Crazy.
it's nothing like that.
But I'm very happy
Simple.
that the education is way, way, way better. The science is way better. It's all just that's what amazes me most. I've said that numerous times. It's just amazing how
The
much.
science.
Oh, and the information you can get now. I
Mhm.
couldn't Google stuff back then and go, what's that? What's this?
Right.
Like, yeah, yeah, and have groups to talk to. So I think
Yeah.
if I could do it all over again, I back me up into my 20s now, and I'll do like 5 surrogacies. Let me do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
You'd be cut off because you have 3 children. You can only do 3
Whatever.
surrogacies.
Maybe okay. We're just saying. Maybe I'll go independent. Just no, but no, whatever.
Oh.
Okay.
Considering you almost died twice, I don't think that's
Yeah.
a great one.
All right.
But
wrap it up.
okay, well, if anybody has any stories or questions they'd like to ask, please feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Stop.Sit.Surrogate.
It's been another edition of Stop Sit Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Friday Facts. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye, guys.